That state witness will also testify that Marcus Conway was one of the individuals responsible for a portion of that payment.
Dallas hip-hop has seen plenty of street tension over the years, but when MO3 was gunned down on I-35 in broad daylight, nobody expected the chain reaction that followed. Now, 5 years later, prosecutors allege that Yella Beezy withdrew $100,000 in cash just days after the murder, and bank cameras reportedly captured everything. This is the breakdown of how a rap rivalry spiraled into one of the most shocking cases in the city's history. The fatal feud between two of Dallas's most respected artists didn't start with gunfire. It began the same way most hood beefs do: small misunderstandings, bruised pride, and escalating energy until there was no turning back. That November afternoon in 2020, the sun was high over the city and I-35E was jammed with regular weekday traffic. People grinding through their shifts, truckers making deliveries, families heading home, just another normal day. But what went down in the next few minutes sent shockwaves through the rap game and sparked a street saga that wouldn't reach its final chapter until half a decade later. To understand the chaos that erupted on that freeway, you've got to rewind and dig into the origins of the conflict, where it started, why it grew, and how two rising artists ended up on a collision course. That means looking at the environments that shaped them, the loyalties that defined them, and the mix of ambition and street code that eventually led to a tragedy nobody could reverse. Yella government name Marquise DeAndre Conway grew up in Oak Cliff, a Dallas neighborhood known for producing real ones, but also for testing everybody who survives there. Born in the early 90s, his entire world shifted when his father was killed inside their home on Mother's Day, leaving him at just 12 years old to process a pain deeper than most grown men ever face. That kind of trauma forces a kid to mature overnight, reshaping how he sees life, safety, and trust. Even as he wrestled with the loss, music became Conway's outlet. Surrounded by that gritty southern trap sound blasting from corner stores and passing cars, he found comfort in writing bars. By 9 years old, he was filling notebooks with rhymes, using music as therapy for feelings too heavy to express out loud. It wasn't about fame, it was survival. As he grew into his late teens and early 20s, those private verses became public. Performing under the name Yella Beezy, a nod to his complexion and his growing buzz hair, started building a reputation in Dallas's underground scene. His early tapes captured the raw reality of trap life in Texas, resonating with listeners who recognized every struggle he described. His breakout moment came when he dropped the street anthem Trappin' Designer, a track that echoed through clubs and blocks across the city. The momentum earned him attention from Hitco Entertainment, founded by industry legend L.A. Reid. Signing to a major label elevated everything: the stakes, the exposure, and the pressure. From there, Yella Beezy delivered national hits like That's On Me, blending infectious hooks with authenticity that appealed both to the streets and mainstream crowds. Major collaborations followed fast: Chris Brown on Restroom Occupied, Lil Wayne on Hit, and Gucci Mane on Back at It Again. Each feature expanded his reach and solidified his place as one of the new faces of the trap wave. In interviews reflecting on his rise, Yella admitted that his breakthrough single performed far beyond anything he expected, proving that the kid who once wrote bars to cope with pain had become a certified star.
I mean, you came out with this track from the Diamond Records, and what's the latest from this? How I know it's been crazy.
That's On Me.
That's On Me. It's crazy. What, like 500,000 a month?
Nah, shit. Right now it's 700,000.
But real talk: Yella's evolution from an anxious young rapper into a confident industry figure wasn't a smooth transition. Drama seemed permanently attached to his name, often rooted in the same neighborhoods that shaped both his music and his mindset. Legal issues, including multiple gun-related charges, painted him as a product of his environment, an environment where survival often meant moving in ways that could look completely different depending on who was watching. Now shift the scene to North Dallas, where another rising talent was grinding his way into the spotlight. MO3-born Melvin Abdul Noble Jr., originally from Kinney but raised in North Dallas, lived a story that paralleled Yella's while carrying its own distinct weight. Born in the spring of 1992, Noble grew up in a home grounded in faith. He stayed active at Greater Hope Holiness Church, and family ties shaped everything he did. North Dallas, with its mix of struggle and promise, built him into someone who wore pain visibly, channeling personal battles into raw, emotional lyrics that felt more like testimony than entertainment. Heavily inspired by Boosie Badazwo's brutally honest reflections on street life and prison hit deep, MO3 began turning to music as a release. His early tracks fused melodic hooks with unfiltered street narratives that refused to glamorize anything. His career started catching fire after his 2014 mixtape Shot As, which built a strong grassroots following in Dallas thanks to his ability to articulate real-life hood experiences. No gimmicks, no filters, just truth stretched across heavy beats. His rise came naturally, fueled by word-of-mouth, viral clips, and small shows where his emotional performances locked in entire crowds. The breakthrough moment arrived when he caught Boosie's attention, earning a label deal and mentorship that pushed him far beyond Dallas's borders. Their collaboration Bad as MO3 was a pivotal milestone, proving he could trade bar for bar with established veterans. Tracks like Everybody and his aggressive diss records showed his versatility, switching from soul-bearing pain to warning shots aimed at rivals, reminding everyone he wasn't one to underestimate. But deep within Dallas's rap scene where ambition collides with street politics, the tension between Yella Beezy and MO3 was building long before it erupted. What began as quiet competition morphed into personal disrespect, violent confrontations, and alleged retaliations that fans followed obsessively while families feared the inevitable fallout. The beef didn't come from a single explosive incident, but from a slow buildup of rumors, subliminal shots, and the harsh reality that rap disagreements can turn deadly fast. The roots stretched back to their early grind in Oak Cliff and North Dallas, areas full of talent but loaded with territorial pride. Street talk claimed the initial spark came from something as petty as a mutual romantic interest, but the real accelerant came from outside influence. Enter Roy Lee Phipps Jr., a Dallas comedian known for ruthlessly clowning rappers' street credibility. Roy Lee publicly questioned Yella's Oak Cliff roots, accusing him of exaggerating his background for clout, basically calling him fake. Those videos stung because nothing hurts a street rapper's rep more than challenged authenticity. As a close associate of MO3, Roy Lee's attacks pulled MO3 into the conflict by association. Tensions rose after Roy Lee reportedly confronted Yella's crew at a club and got jumped. He kept roasting online until tragedy hit. In late 2018 or early 2019, Roy Lee was shot in the leg in North Dallas, and complications from blood clots led to his death. Rumors immediately pointed toward Yella's circle, alleging a hit was placed as retaliation, claims never proven. Still, the streets believed what they believed, turning what started as jokes into deep hostility, with MO3 feeling obligated to stand up for his fallen friend. Hidden forces made things worse. Yella's connections to the rolling 60s Crips added another layer to the conflict. In Dallas, where gang affiliations overlap heavily with rap, these ties can turn personal issues into wider crew disputes governed by their own rules. The tension hit major milestones as events unfolded. In October 2018, Yella Beezy survived a shooting on the North Dallas Tollwine ambush that left him hospitalized. And when MO3 was later asked about rising violence in Dallas, especially targeting rappers, his reaction was chillingly casual, reflecting how normal danger had become in their world.
So Beezy got shot up. What were your thoughts on it?
I still have to wait.
Street rumors quickly tied MO3 to the attack, framing it as retaliation for Roy Lee's death, even though both he and Yella publicly denied any involvement. But the whispers didn't stop. By February 2020, the tension finally erupted inside a Dallas club when Yella Beezy allegedly got into a violent altercation with Brandon Rainwater, MO3's manager. Reports described the encounter as a one-sided beatdown, leaving Rainwater with a dislocated hip and later filing a lawsuit over the incident. During this stretch of escalating conflict, both rappers continued making statements that seemed to downplay the seriousness of their beef, even as they kept it alive through subliminal shots and coded messages. In one especially telling moment, when Yella was asked directly about MO3, his dismissive reply said more than he intended, revealing just how deep the animosity really ran beneath the surface.
Well, after we did the interview with you, I interviewed MO3. Who? MO3.
I don't know who that is.
Well, I asked about the shooting, and he said there's no beef. But, he said you just gotta stay out the way. It's real out here.
Meanwhile, MO3 was just as firm in denying that there was any organized conflict among Dallas rappers, repeatedly stressing that the situation had been exaggerated by blogs hungry to stir up drama for views, clicks, and online engagement.
Nah, they was misinformed about some rap beef, and I was like, no rap beef with nobody. I ain't got no rap beef, no rap in my city. No rap beef.
When pushed further about specific incidents and the supposed surveillance footage showing street altercations, MO3's denials turned almost comical in their blunt delivery, brushing everything off as online fantasy and people stretching for stories that were never real.
Do you see somebody running down the street? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, okay.
Okay. So you're saying that all that is just nonsense?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Internet be reaching.
But beneath all the public denials and claims that everything was just fabricated drama, something far darker was taking shape in the streets. A deadly setup was unfolding, one that would reach its violent peak on a packed Dallas freeway in broad daylight, turning what once looked like social media-level rap beef into a full-blown murder case that gripped the entire country and took 5 long years for investigators to piece together. The highway execution, captured clearly on camera, marked the moment everything changed. November 11, 2020 began like any other regular Wednesday in Dallas. Clear skies, steady traffic, and people out grinding to make a living. Around noon, MO3 was driving northbound on I-35E near the Oaklawn exit, a stretch of road every Dallas local knows well, always filled with commuters, truckers, and everyday traffic. What happened next was recorded in chilling detail by the dashcam of an 18-wheeler, footage that investigators would later describe as proof of a deliberate and highly coordinated hit carried out with zero fear of witnesses. A dark-colored vehicle pulled up beside MO3's car, and without even the slightest warning, the shooter opened fire. Gunshots cracked through the freeway noise as bullets ripped into MO3's vehicle, forcing him to lose control while drivers around him slammed brakes and swerved in shock. In a desperate attempt to save his life, MO3 bailed out of the car and sprinted across the lanes of traffic, weaving between slowing vehicles as horns blared and drivers panicked. The gunman, completely unfazed and locked in on his target, jumped out of his own ride and chased MO3 on foot, weapon drawn. Witnesses described a terrifying scene: the shooter dressed head to toe in black, face covered, moving with cold precision as he pursued MO3 across multiple lanes before firing the shots that brought him down. MO3 collapsed on the pavement, bleeding heavily as traffic ground to a halt and chaos erupted around him. Although first responders arrived within minutes, he succumbed to his wounds at a nearby hospital, ending a rising career and triggering one of the most complicated murder investigations Dallas had seen in years. Years later, when the dashcam footage finally resurfaced in court, media voices like DJ Academics analyzed every frame for millions of viewers desperate for answers. The video showed MO3 trying to maneuver a way through traffic, still appearing unaware of just how deadly the ambush truly was until it was far too late.
Here's the thing. I gotta believe if MO3 is in this vehicle, I gotta believe that MO3, it doesn't really feel like he's that much in danger or that this person is trying to kill him. You get what I'm saying? And the reason why I gotta believe that is that the dude passes. MO3 could have slowed down. Let's say the guy's going 60. You should speed to 30.
The footage captured the pivotal moment when MO3 made the fatal decision to jump out of his car, seemingly trying to reach back inside for his weapon to protect himself. DJ Academics broke down that split-second move with the benefit of hindsight, pointing out how the entire outcome might have been different had MO3 simply stayed behind the wheel and kept driving instead of stopping and exposing himself.
I'm not having a standoff in the middle of the highway. I'm keep driving. I'm floored. Right? I'm keep floored. Okay? But MO3 actually stops. But it appears MO3 must have been under the assumption, oh, this pussy nigga's playing me. Maybe recognize the guy or recognize the car. And he's like, let me go get my chopper.
At the crime scene, investigators located dozens of shell casings scattered across the highway, physical proof that a high-powered weapon had been unleashed in a rapid burst of gunfire. The firearm was later confirmed to be a semi-automatic capable of firing in quick succession, explaining the huge number of casings littered across the freeway and the severity of MO3's injuries to his back and torso wounds that made it clear he was shot while desperately trying to run for his life. Dash cam footage from passing vehicles, combined with highway surveillance cameras, captured pieces of the entire ordeal, showing MO3's gold sedan riddled with bullet holes and the suspect's black sedan abandoned nearby after the hit was completed. These visuals outlined the chase, the shooter's cold, calculated actions, and provided investigators with a detailed timeline that helped them reconstruct those chaotic moments with precision. The fact that this went down in such an open, heavily traveled area during peak midday traffic highlighted just how bold and reckless the hit truly was, suggesting the shooter cared far more about completing the job than avoiding dozens of potential witnesses. The key to cracking the case became identifying the triggerman responsible for carrying out the execution. Keywan Dantrell White, a 22-year-old on parole, quickly rose to the top of the suspect list after Dallas PD released surveillance images showing a man matching his appearance near the crime scene. White, who already had firearm-related charges on his record, was arrested about a month later in December 2020, after tips from the streets and forensic evidence tied him to both the car and the weapon used in the murder. Prosecutors painted him as the hired gunman, the person allegedly paid to carry out the hit on behalf of whoever wanted MO3 removed. White initially faced murder charges, but those later shifted into a plea deal involving reduced sentencing on gun-related offenses. He agreed to serve 9 years while cooperating with prosecutors and providing testimony against the alleged mastermind. Devin Brown, another figure suspected of helping facilitate the plot, was indicted alongside White and Yella Beezy in 2025, though the exact details of his role remained vague even as formal charges were filed. The biggest shock to the Dallas hip-hop world came when investigators eventually set their sights on who they believed orchestrated the entire operation from behind the scenes. Yella Beezy government name Marquise DeAndre Conway entered the case much later as the accused mastermind, facing capital murder-for-hire charges based on allegations that he arranged the hit amid the long-running beef between him and MO3. The investigative process unfolded slowly and cautiously, illustrating the difficulty of assembling an airtight case built around street beef, major artists, and a network of individuals with overlapping loyalties and motives. Dallas PD launched an aggressive manhunt immediately after the killing, releasing surveillance images to the public that brought in leads pointing straight to White as the shooter. Early investigation relied heavily on physical evidence, ballistics matching shell casings to a weapon tied to White, and witness statements confirming the timeline of the freeway execution. But despite that strong start, the case initially stalled as detectives hit dead ends, struggling to establish motive or identify who might have financed or directed the operation. The investigation only regained momentum thanks to street informants and White's eventual cooperation, with whispers circulating that Yella had allegedly placed a bag as retaliation for past run-ins and escalating disrespect between both camps. The timeline stretched from the 2020 murder all the way to the arrests in 2025, a 5-year journey shaped by the need to verify street rumors with hard evidence, navigate testimony from cooperating criminals with their own incentives, and overcome challenges like incomplete digital footprints and reluctant witnesses. Investigators faced fading memories, potential witness intimidation, and the added difficulty of proving a murder-for-hire plot with no clear paper trail linking money to the killing. Surveillance footage and collected evidence